Welcome everyone to our podcast, Bharat and Geopolitics, where we unravel the intricacies of global affairs. I am thrilled to introduce our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Adityanjee, whose expertise in this domain is unmatched. With years of experience and a keen eye for geopolitical trends, he brings invaluable insights that promise to broaden our perspectives. Today's discussion is not just about understanding the Asia and the world, it's about navigating its complexities. As we explore the ever changing landscape of international relations, Dr. Adityanji will guide us through key geopolitical challenges and opportunities shaping our world, from regional tension to global cooperation. We will delve into the issues that define our era. So sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and get ready to embark on a journey of discovery. With Dr. Adityanji by our side, we are in for an enlightening conversation that promises to leave us with a deeper understanding of the forces shaping our world today. Let's dive into the fascinating world of geopolitics. So, coming to the topic, today we are delving into a pressing topic: why India's neighbors are turning against it, from border dispute to diplomatic tensions. We will explore the factors driving this shift in a regional dynamics. So, welcome, Dr. Adityanji. Welcome to our platform once again.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha. Thank you very much indeed for that introduction, kind introduction. I am not sure whether I deserve all of it, but it was very pleasing to hear you introduce me.
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
here on the platform again, and let's have our conversation.
So, in the recent past, we have seen the our smaller nations. There are so many. Nepal is there, Bhutan is there, Sri Lanka is there, and the Maldives is there. So all these neighbors, they have been good friends, and we have been very good relations with all of them. But one by one, they all are turning against India, even Bangladesh. So there is a Quit India campaign. So I would like to understand from you. So what do you think is the reason behind this change of stance?
Well, Mr. Sinha, if we look at post transfer of power 1947, when power was transferred from British Empire that governed the British India to Dominion of India, which got further into Republic of India, people who were in the power post 1947 did not understand the power politics, did not understand geopolitics, and lived in high moral castles in the air. And pretty much decisions taken during that time period over the next few years and even decades is leading to the current situation that all your neighbors are turning against you. And this is not a recent phenomenon, if I may say. Yes, post 1947, we always had problems with Pakistan. Pakistan, since it was carved out of undivided India or united India, has always been anti India. And Pakistan was always playing our neighbors, smaller neighbors, against us. And we did have problems with China, and China started playing Pakistan against us. So in 1960, there was a agreement between China and Pakistan, in which Pakistan ceded a part of Jammu and Kashmir to China.
Yeah.
But if you see around the same time what was happening, that rulers of India were gifting away territory to neighbors to appease
Yeah.
them. And if I may say that an offer to have Nepal merged with Union of India was turned down by a prime minister in 1953 when there was problem in that country. Around 1954, a previous agreement between British government and government of Myanmar about transfer of Kubo Valley from the state of Manipur, which was an independent kingdom and had
Yeah.
won that region for almost 500 years and was actually ceded to Myanmar, or formerly Burma. Uh, the actual ceding was done in 1824 in a treaty between British India and Burma, but then Burma was part of British India. And as part of that agreement, some money was to be paid every year to the king of Manipur. That was transferred from Burma to the colonial government, and from colonial government to king of Manipur. Now that arrangement continued, I think, till 1953, when the first prime minister or second prime minister of India had a meeting with prime minister of Burma and stopped taking that financial compensation. That compensation was supposed to be given to the state of Manipur or kingdom of Manipur till that Kubo Valley was returned to Manipur. So you gave the financial compensation. It was very small in today's term, but the problem was there that you ceded the territory and you ceded the compensation for that annual compensation that was to be paid till that Kubo Valley was returned to the state of Manipur. Similarly, in the aftermath of this division of the country, the government of the day did not put its claims on the Cocoa Islands, which got transferred to Burma in 1948. And now there's a Chinese naval base there, ever expanding. You look into around post 97 one war with Pakistan over Bangladesh, the prime minister of the day, just with one signature, freed 93,000 prisoners of war without any
Yeah.
conditionality, to the extent that we returned our territories that we had gained in the war on the Western Front, and we did not get Indian POWs back.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Around
Yeah.
the same time, there was a bilateral pact with Sri Lanka, and that is called Gandhi Bhandaranaike Pact or Indira Sirimavo Pact, by which the island of Kachativu was given up to Sri Lanka. And none of these agreements, transfers of territory, were ratified by the parliament. So we had this unfortunate tradition that ruling prime ministers that were in office, kept on giving Indian territory or Indian interests under the assumptions, rather silly assumptions, that by appeasing the demanding small neighbors will win
Yeah.
their loyalty. And it does not work like that in geopolitics. Geopolitics is hard. You have to exercise hard power. In the world of geopolitics, nobody talks about moral values and truth and spirituality and things like that. If you start dealing with countries security interest using these high flown terms and not look at the geopolitical realities, you are going to face the predicament that we are facing right now. And I'll give you an example that we liberated Bangladesh from Pakistan. We entered into a 25 years treaty of mutual friendship and assistance that lapsed in 1998. Why 25 years? Could have done for 200 years. You know, there was enough ground to have some permanent presence of our security interest
Yeah.
in
Yes.
Bangladesh so that the current situation does not arise.
Yeah.
So, whatever leverage we had, whatever hard power leverage we had, we squandered that. And it
Mhm.
does not finish there. It is true that Mrs. Gandhi did agree and engineer merger of state of Sikkim, which was India's protectorate, into Union of India. That was a creditable thing. But the advantage won on the war was lost on the meeting with Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in Simla. Move fast forward. Inder Kumar Gujral was prime minister for a very short period of 6 months or so, brings out this infamous Gujral doctrine. He never had mandate for himself because he never contested elections as a prime ministerial candidate. It was just the you know alliances and Gathbandhan or whatever coalition governments that brought him the prime ministership. But echoing Nehru, he brought five moral principles, and one of the moral principles, according to this guy, was non-reciprocity. Now,
Yeah.
in state-to-state relations, we always bring reciprocity. You
Yes.
scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. You do something for me, I have to do something for you. You have to return something.
Yeah.
So what he does, he gives away all the advantages, dismantles R&AW presence in enemy countries to the extent that our intelligence advantage, our intelligence infrastructure in the neighboring countries was wound up, destroyed. It took a lot of time to rebuild that intelligence structure. So unfortunately, there have been series of prime ministers who do not understand geopolitics. If they want to be saints or go to a monastery, that's fine. But with those principles, you cannot govern a country and you cannot safeguard national interests. So year
Yeah.
after year, we saw this. There was no need for India to join SARC. We knew from the beginning that the SARC was a geopolitical game being played against India. And it was initiated by Bangladesh, supported by Pakistan, and all the six smaller neighbors joined. And it gave actually the way the charter was defined, you know, it gave an opportunity to smaller neighbors to play against India in unison. To the extent they brought China into SARC as an external observer, despite India's reluctance. So we have led to situations in which we are the party at receiving end. More recently, you mentioned the word all the small neighbors, Nepal, Bhutan. We had a treaty with Bhutan. In 2005, that treaty was amended by the government. And again, whatever advantage we had in terms of, protecting our security interests, that was given up. So China is using that loophole to deal directly with Bhutan on the border issue. And in order to appease China, Bhutan may enter into a border agreement with China at tri-junction of Doklam, which may be inimical to our interests. So we have given up all our advantages, like starting from Tibet. We had two trade posts in Tibet. We welcomed the Chinese or PLA's invasion of Tibet. Our government supplied rice to and food supplies and rations to the PLA soldiers who were invading Tibet. We are seeing the result of that. So the point
Yeah.
I'm making is that this did not happen overnight. It was a long process started from 1947 because people who were ruling India did not understand geopolitics, unnecessarily tried to moralize a foreign policy and defense structure and defense policy, leading
Uh,
to weakening of Indian state
yeah.
and
I,
ganging up of smaller neighbors against India.
I am sorry to interrupt you. I am curious to know a few years back when China was entering into Doklam.
Hmm.
That time, India very aggressively opposed this, and they were forced to retreat. But what is the problem now with India? India can't interfere with this, the China and the Bhutan affairs.
So India at that time in 27, Indian Army unilaterally took the action to push forth Chinese, but after that, uh, Bhutan has had civilian governments. It's now a constitutional monarchy. So election after election, different parties come and they have different perceptions. So China has started its game of trying to bribe the, parties or leaders or so there have been, I think, around 17 rounds of talks between Bhutan and China's leadership. China wants to establish diplomatic relationship with Bhutan, and they do as they usually do. They bully the neighbors, make maximalist claims, and then
Mhm.
settle for mutual compromise, which means they get half of what they had claimed.
Yeah,
So they have opened another claim in, I think, in another kind of a valley or bird sanctuary on the Bhutan-Tibet border, and are demanding territory from Bhutan. And Bhutan is directly dealing because our the responsibilities in foreign and defense was taken away under the 2005 revised treaty. So that is with Bhutan. Uh, with Bangladesh, the jihadi elements since liberation of Bangladesh have been on ascendancy. You know that assassination of Mujibur Rahman, the first prime minister of Bangladesh or the first president who became,
mm,
was engineered by help of deep state agencies supported from outside, and that was followed by emergence of Islamist governments in Bangladesh, starting with Ziaur Rahman. And then after his assassination, his family and his colleagues started this BNP, Bangladesh Nationalist Party.
yeah,
Whenever Bangladesh Nationalist Party has been in governance, they were in alliance with Islamist groups like Jamaat-e-Islami of Bangladesh. And
yeah,
they permitted a lot of anti-India, anti-Hindu activity is continuing despite BNP is not in governance. BNP took an overtly hostile attitude towards India, including killing the border security force personnel. There were 12 border security force personnel that were abducted and killed by Bangladesh Rangers. Uh, and even despite change of government and current Awami League government, anti-India elements have been prospering in Bangladesh because we really don't have a hard policy regarding these neighbors who keep on indulging. We think that by appeasing them, we'll be able to stop them, but it does not end there. You appease them once, their demands increase.
yeah.
I think A time has come when the ruling polity of India has to decide that we have to safeguard. We are not here in a popularity contest or beauty contest in
Right.
South, in Asian region, that whoever is the most malleable country, that people, slap you on one face, you on one side of the face, on one cheek, you put for the other cheek. You are dealing with hardcore realities of geopolitics. Look at a business corporate example. What happens if you don't grow? You are acquired by your rivals. Mergers and acquisitions, hostile bids are made, for takeover. Happens in corporate world all the time. The bigger fish always eats the smaller fish.
Yeah.
So understand what is geopolitics. The principle of non-reciprocity and doing goodwill, whether it is to Sri Lanka or Maldives without anything in return, bailing them out without any conditionalities, has not worked. Has not worked with any government, where, whether it's current government or previous governments. This has been the same story. And you know that you are on two sides, you have hostile powers. One is China, second is Pakistan. They always try to, you know, create problems with other neighbors. There was a time Chinese government was, uh, pretty much spreading its tentacles all over, whether it is Myanmar, whether Sri Lanka, whether it is Maldives, whether it is Pakistan, Bangladesh, in all the countries, because they are trying to encircle India. Similarly, Pakistan was supporting Sri Lankan governments, that were hostile to India. Uh, they were sending them arms,
Yeah.
and the same story is repeating again. So we have to learn from the mistakes and stop this, holier than I thou attitude in international relations, and look at the hardcore real politics. What safeguards our hardcore long term interests? Otherwise, you'll end up losing the independence once again.
Yeah. Because I feel very severely hurt by the attitude of Bangladesh actually. So we did so much to free this country from Pakistan,
Hmm.
and so many soldiers died. We did so much, and this country has become a second Pakistan. Now they are so much against Hindus. Even there is, I think, I don't know the percentage actually, but I think this is a very little percentage of Hindus are there in Bangladesh now, and they do everything against India.
So you are right. You know that Bangladesh is no longer, you know, a friendly country as we know Bangladesh. And I think our main problem has been that we have put all our eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And that one basket is Sheikh Hasina. That anything happens, we run to Sheikh Hasina, that she has finite life. When she dies, what will happen?
Mm. Yeah.
We have to think in terms of institutional framework to deal with Bangladesh. And again, there's no need to give unilateral concessions.
Yeah.
Everything should be conditional, should be, sort of to mutual advantage. It cannot be one-way concessions. This
Mhm.
story of one-way concessions has led to problems for us. We exchange enclaves with Bangladesh. There was a, you know, bilateral agreement signed in 2015. We had, some enclaves in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh had some enclaves in our territory. And there was exchange of populations as well as territory.
Yeah. Yeah.
In principle, there were 223 enclaves and 32 counter enclaves, and there were enclaves within enclaves. That was done. So, in principle, that was a good thing, that a very anomalous situation has been resolved. But if you look at the territories, I think we lost quite a bit of territory. Now, why could we not negotiate that? Yes, we will exchange the enclaves,
Yeah.
but the territory has to be adjusted in other sectors. No nation gives its own territories free of cost.
Only India.
So, as late as 2015, we gave up territory to the Islamic Republic of Bangladesh, as it is called now.
Yeah.
We could have adjusted that territory, let's say in the chicken neck area,
Yeah.
to get more depth or width to that
Correct.
territory corridor. Why our diplomats, why our policy planners did not think of that? There was no rush to, solve this. Now, of course, they were demanding water. So we had a World Bank supported agreement in 1960 with Pakistan,
Mm.
water rights to Pakistan to disadvantage of India, India's riparian states, Punjab and Haryana. So we keep on doing things that are detrimental to us. And it's not just one prime minister, it has been series of prime ministers who have done this. And I think unless India's rulers and leaders understand geopolitics, understand the concept of hard power, we will continue to be in the same state.
Thank you, sir. So you have already covered my next question. How much India is responsible for this state of affairs? Moving to the third question, considering the present government since 2014, how do you think this state of affairs affects India's global ambitions?
So we have to understand the concept of near abroad. Gujarat doctrine was giving concessions, giving goodwill,
Yeah.
generating goodwill, non interference in the affairs. If you look at any superpower, they
Yeah.
tightly control their backyard.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. The reigning superpower, the hyperpower United States,
Yeah.
when it got its independence in 1776,
Yeah.
how many states were party to the Union? 12. How many states that United States has now? 50 plus some federated territory all over the world in oceans. There are 7 or 8 federated territories. There's a Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. They still control it. How did that happen? It did not happen just by, principles of democracy. Hard power was used, bribes were used, territories were purchased to give United States strategic depth. And I'll give you an example. The current state of Texas, that was Mexican territory.
Oh.
That was Mexican territory. What United States did, it facilitated immigration of Yankees, which is a term used for northeastern white Anglo-Saxon Protestants,
Hmm.
transmigration from United States to Texas region of Mexico around 1840s. And once they control the land and territory,
Mm.
I think around 1845, they declared a rebellion against the Mexican government and declared independence. So the state of Texas was an independent country from 1945 to, I believe, till 1953,
I see.
when they passed a resolution in their National Assembly of Texas to merge with United States. What is China doing at this point in time? What is
Yeah,
Russia doing at this point in time? How did
that's
British Empire rose? So if you don't safeguard your interests and if you keep on giving your territories to other people, you will lose eventually, and you will lose your independence. And that is what you're seeing at this point in time, that all your smaller neighbors are being played upon by outside powers against India. They are being instigated. Now, when Inder Kumar Gujral declared Gujral Doctrine, there was a lot of heartburn in, the intelligence community, and they didn't like that. We were giving up our intelligence infrastructure in other countries where we could do certain things. So my own opinion, written in an article in 2008, was a counter doctrine called Adityan doctrine, and you are welcome to read it. That article was published in a website called bology.com
okay.
under the title Engaging India.
Please share the link with me.
I will send you the link, in which I've talked about Adityan doctrine and what I propounded, that India should take care of its own backyard. And India
Right.
should not allow any superpower or emerging hegemon to have
Yeah.
any place in India's backyard. India's backyard is India's near abroad, and India should manage it with hard power so that nobody, you need to have a concentric circles of security.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your nation is the innermost, but then you have to control the periphery also, either by alliances or by treaties or by other arrangements. We
Yeah.
forgot that, when Britishers left India, they still controlled Myanmar. In 1948, they gave, independence to Myanmar. Myanmar or Burma was part of British India till 1937. We had certain powers in Tibet. They were British residents and trade offices in two cities, Lhasa and one more. We had certain responsibilities there. Similarly, Maldives was a protectorate of British India.
Oh.
The protectorate status was given up by Britain in 1976. So if you give up your power unilaterally, somebody is going to abuse it. There cannot be any vacuum in geopolitics. You have to
Right.
understand that. So you have to project power. You have to project power to the extent that any country, whether small or big, does not have evil intentions and use their territory to target against you. Now, reality is that Maldives is in the process of giving bases to China.
Yeah.
Myanmar has already given Coco Island as a base, and there are satellite imagery suggesting that the Coco Island, which used to be originally just a listening post from 1995 onwards, is becoming a full fleshed tri service base of China. When this
That sorry to interrupt you. That is one of the most interesting question that I had on my mind for a long time. because the China is trying so hard and playing very strategically to break into this string of pearls, because they have entered Sri Lanka, they have entered Bangladesh, and now this is Maldives. And on the land area, you see they are already there in Tibet, and then they are dealing very aggressively with Bhutan and Nepal. So China is able to break this string of pearls around India actually, even though the India opposes, and China has created a situation where they will get passage in all these places. So I think China is succeeding in their efforts.
Well, China uses number one, bullying, number two, hard cash.
Yeah,
Unfortunately for India, China is a cash rich power. Despite nosediving of their economy and crashing of their stock market, they still have like almost $4.0 trillion in foreign exchange reserves.
mm-hmm.
And that is used by China very liberally. And unfortunately, India cannot match that. But the fact that China is not the resident power in this region of the world, we are the resident power, whether as naval power, maritime domain, or land power, or air power. We have come to the rescue of our smaller neighbors.
Yeah,
You know, we supplied in 2015 fresh water to Maldives when their water supply broke down.
yeah,
In 1990, uh, I think in during Rajiv Gandhi's time, uh, we rescued Maldivian Prime President
yeah, from the coup.
from the coup that was inspired by a local Maldivian businessman who hired mercenaries from PLOTE, a Tamil terrorist organization. We sent an expeditionary force of 1,600 tri-service force, I think within a period of 8 hours to Maldives to reverse
Yeah,
the coup and protect. So we have come to the rescue. We have paid their loans, we have given them assistance to Sri Lanka, to Maldives, without any conditionality. So, in other words, we keep on subsidizing China for its nefarious activities in India's backyard. They trap these countries into debt trap, and when they are not able to pay their interest and original premiums of the debt, they come to India and Indian government bails them out. So who is getting that money? Ultimately, China is getting that money.
yeah,
China is controlling the territory so that they have a 99-year-old lease on Hambantota port in Sri Lanka. They have interest in Colombo port. Now the current government, led by President Ranil Wickremesinghe, has become very, very India friendly and has allowed opening of IIT campus and allowed UPI mechanism, and Indian rupee has become a legal tender. So those
yeah,
are the steps in right direction, but we need an institutional framework because governments come for 5 years. Next
yeah,
time different government comes, they will undo everything. So
yeah,
besides dealing with the government of the day, you need to have an institutional framework, a bilateral institutional framework that governs the future of bilateral relationship,
right.
whether it is a friendship treaty or some other rights.
Yeah,
We have to work towards that
yeah, right, right.
and not provide assistance in the time of need unconditionally without any reimbursement of the assistance.
Definitely, definitely. So the fourth question was already answered. Who do you think is playing this game with India? So China is a very visible player in this game. Do you think some other countries are also involved?
Of course, China is not the only country. Even Pakistan has been playing that game. I mentioned to you that Pakistan was transferring arms to Sri Lanka, when there was this rebellion by Tamil separatists.
Yeah,
Pakistan did try to send some arms to Maldives. And whenever these leaders give hostile reactions towards India, Pakistan supports them internationally or in other groupings like OIC kind of thing. So that is there. But don't forget about other powers or the powers that have been.
yeah,
I am very sorry to say that United Kingdom still has its influence in these smaller neighboring countries, and they play nefarious role, anti-India role.
yeah,
You know that Canada is playing a role vis-a-vis internal disturbances in India, supporting the Khalistani movement, and in that, they are giving shelter to terrorists in Canadian soil, letting them do things. And of course, time and again, US has also intervened.
yes,
The coup that led to assassination of Mujibur Rahman, who inspired that coup, who supported that coup? We have to look into that.
yes. It was USA at its Sims because they weren't able to gain grounds during this 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War actually.
So I think we need to do a threat analysis in our near abroad and start taking proactive actions
All right.
bilaterally, understanding where the problem lies, and make any aid conditional to safeguarding of Indian interests.
Definitely. So you have largely answered my last question. How should India manage it? Would you like to add something? Because the one point you added, we have to deal bilaterally and we have to reciprocate. If we are doing something for any nation, we must get something. So unless and until we are getting something, we should not do that what we have been doing earlier. So these are the two main points. What other things would you like to add? How should India manage it?
India,
Because
India
this is
policy establishment, strategic community, people who govern India have to change their mindset. Set.
yeah,
If I may quote somebody by name Brahma Chalani, who is professor of strategic studies as CPR,
okay.
he labeled India as a lamb state, not just a soft state, but as a lamb state. The lamb that can be devoured by anyone, any wolf around, lurking around. So the task of managing India's security interests requires a change in mindset so that the country is transformed and metamorphosed from a lamb state to a hard state.
Yeah,
You can do one, two, three interventions, this, that. That is just a band aid. But unless you don't think rationally, you
mm,
don't think strategically, You don't see far ahead what your rivals, what your enemies, what your strategic adversaries are doing. We just say we don't care about it, nothing to do with us. Just like we didn't need army, you know, we just need police force to maintain law and order. We are at good relations with everyone. Nobody is going to attack us. We are bhai bhai with this particular country. They are a socialist country. They are not going to attack us.
Right.
We have to cure ourselves of our national delusions. One other factor I am going to tell you, and it may become as very hard advice. Unfortunately, pretty much all the prime ministers that have been in power have been in a craze to get Nobel Peace Prize. I think they need to, the prime ministers should be in the business of governing India and safeguarding India's security interests and not in the race for getting a Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
That to you reflects what has been the cause. You want to be established as a world statesman with a large heart. No, geopolitics does not work like that. You have to safeguard your interests. You have to be mean at a certain point in time. You have to strike back at certain point in time. You're not here for a beauty contest or a popularity contest in the
Yes.
United Nations.
Yes. So, sir, that was all the question I had on my mind on this topic. And I think this topic is very deep. Many things will come up because you have been making mistakes for a long time after independence and correcting this mindset and our efforts and how do we deal with geopolitics with other nations. It will take a long time. So, thank you so much for your time. It was very enlightening, and we have learned a lot from you. So, soon I'll come to you again with something new.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
If this discussion can start as a inflection point in
Yeah.
India's geopolitical journey, I'll be very
Yeah.
pleased indeed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, viewers. So, please like the video and share the video to spread the message. We'll be meeting again soon. Good night. Thank you, sir. Bye.